Good evening. It's Friday, and tonight I'm going to give you a little commentary on our reading. We had various readings in Genesis that dealt with the Joseph story. I'm going to focus on Genesis chapter 50 and those verses 15 through 21. And I thought that I would follow up on what we talked about on Wednesday in terms of God intending good throughout all these different things that were happening to Joseph by his brothers and by other folks. So, in order to do that, I thought I would share with you a little bit from this massive book. It's called the New Interpreter's Bible, and this portion is volume 1. It deals with Genesis. And the editor, the writer of the reflection, and that's what I'm going to be reading to you, is a person by the name of Terence E. Fretheim. In his reflection on the Genesis 50 text, he starts with what I think is kind of important and what we didn't do because we started in Genesis 3, but he says the theme of goodness in Genesis comes full circle here. In Genesis 1, God created everything very good. This good did not entail perfection or deny the need of development. Throughout Genesis, God has been pursuing this good intentions for the created order. Even more, God recruited human beings to participate in that pursuit of goodness. God's creative work leads to specific vocations. Joseph's work in Egypt, for example, served creation, recognized by Pharaoh as good, providing for the daily needs of all persons, chapter 45 and 47 and 50. God's creational purposes for goodness, life, and well-being in and through people do not cease even in the face of their weakness or failure. And I think it's kind of important to think about these bookends of Genesis. Chapter 1, talking about the goodness of creation, and then ending in chapter 50, where we have what some people would have thought as some really murky, evil stuff going on. And in the midst of all that murkiness and in that kind of evil thread that goes through, we find out at the end that Joseph does very well, and his brothers benefit as well from Joseph, even though it's pretty clear that from the beginning that his brothers were really being very evil toward him. The narrator gathers up a key theme of these chapters at verse 50-20 concerning what both the brothers and God have done. The verb hasab is translated in various ways, either plan or intend, will do. Though plan lifts up the concrete side of intention more directly, the term also more clearly alludes to the plots of the brothers against Joseph. In their very plans, God too has been working on a plan for goodness. God does not have a highly detailed plan all worked out that will come to fruition regardless of what humans do. The people involved are not automatons whose good or evil actions count for nothing. Positively, they can act for good in the face of those who plan for evil. Negatively, they can frustrate God's intentions so that the future may look different from what would have been the case had only the divine plan been realized. Yet, however much these planners may complicate the divine planning, God's way into the future will never finally be stymied. God will persevere, will stay with plans for life, though it may entail changes in the ways and means to that goal in view of human intractability and failure. We should remember this perspective voiced at the end of Genesis as we move into the evil evident in the book of Exodus. I don't know about you, but this week has been fraught with turmoil. It seems like every week is fraught with turmoil. And in the midst of that, I am comforted by the idea that even though people may try to do whatever they are large enough and evil enough to do, that God's intent for goodness will not be thwarted by people. Let's think about that as we prepare for Sunday, as we think about what it truly means for God to intend good. Karen's out from Roseburg and journeying towards Sunday. Bless you and keep you, and may God's face continue to shine upon you and give you peace. I don't know about you, but I could use some peace of God right now. See you on Sunday.